Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. Now this is another ranking video and this time it's by one of my favourite female artists, and that is Suzi Quatro. Now I gave a hint in the last video whenever I showed 5 artists on the rack label who this would be, and everyone seemed to have guessed it. So yeah, Suzi Quatro. Born in Detroit in the USA, didn't have much success over there apart from one single with Chris Norman stumbling in and a couple of minor hit singles in the late 70s. She did much better over here singles wise with 2 #1 hits and a couple more top 10s, but she didn't do very well with the albums. She had one top 10 album with this Greatest Hits, which is an absolutely fantastic album, released I think in 1980, and there is 14 songs off this, all hit singles, absolutely brilliant. But the only hit album she had was her debut, and that was a number 31 hit in 1973. Everything else didn't chart, but these albums are really good. She hasn't had any bad albums at all. Now she's released 16 rock albums, plus this album here, which I'm not going to count, and this is a stage show, Annie Get Your Gun, all songs by Irving Berlin, and she doesn't even sing them all, and it's not really my cup of tea, so it's not been included. And then she did another album, which is one of those self-help albums in the 90s or 2000s, which I'm not going to include either. Okay, 16 albums, and we'll race through them, a lot of them on vinyl and about 4 of them on CD. So coming on number 16, and it's this here, it's What Goes Round, Latest and Greatest, and this came out in 1995. The problem with this is, it is what it says it is. It's re-recordings of all her old hits, and none of them are as good as the originals. She does a version of If You Can't Give Me Love, which I can't stand. There are 4 new songs on here and they're not bad. She does a version of Born to Run, but it's nothing special, so I'm afraid it comes in at number 16. This is around the time where a lot of those early 70s acts, which were no longer successful, were re-recording their hits just to try and get a bit of cash. But this is number 16. Right, at number 15, and this may be a bit of a surprise because whenever you see the cover you think, oh wow, this is right up my street, and it is Quattro, Scott and Powell, and this is from 2017. So this is Suzi Quatro, it's Andy Scott of The Sweet and Don Powell of Slade. This is a very heavy album. It's not bad, it's maybe a little bit too heavy for me in places, and there are an awful lot of cover versions. Now Suzi doesn't take the vocals on every single song. There's a couple by Andy Scott, and Andy Scott was never one of the best singers ever, but it opens up with a really good version of Slow Down, the Larry Williams song, although the Jam for me is the band that does that the best. Again, you get things like Just Like a Woman is probably one of the better songs off this. It's a good slowed down version of the Bob Dylan song, but there's nothing really here that I really like. If Only is okay. They do a decent version of the Everly Brothers' The Price of Love, but not my favourite album. They do Fever again. Now Fever, the Peggy Lee song, how many people have actually done that? Do you really need to hear another version of that song? It's okay, it's slightly disappointing, but as I say, it's very Andy Scott influenced because it is very, very heavy. But not a bad album, but not fantastic. At number 14, and from 2021, and it's her last album, and this is The Devil in Me, and this is actually quite heavy as well. In fact, her last 3 albums are quite heavy. I think the majority of this was written with her son, Richard Tuckey. She was married to Len Tuckey. Yeah, there's some decent songs off this. My Heart and Soul, which is a really nice ballad, as is Love's Gone Bad. It's a really nice ballad. So although a lot of this is quite heavy, it's the ballads I tend to go to. I think they're actually very, very good. Isolation Blues is a really dirgy blues number which I'm not all that keen on. In the Dark is another one of those ballads which is actually quite good. But I'm not saying that the rockers are bad. They're decent. Like The Devil in Me is decent. Hey Queenie's decent, and I Sold My Soul Today is actually quite good as well. Not a bad album, but not my favourite, so it gets number 14. At number 13 from 2019 is No Control. Now this is a better album, these are better songs, and there is Andy Scott in this as well. There's a song called Love Isn't Fair, which has got a real Mexican feel to it, which really does break the album up for me, because again this is actually quite heavy. No Soul, No Control is a good song, but it is heavy. Strings very good, bass lines very good, and you also get a couple of bonus tracks in here, like Leopard Skin Pillbox Hat, which is like an acoustic number. There's a song called I Can Teach You to Fly, which I do really like, although it is actually quite reminiscent musically of Happy Together. I think that's the Turtles song. But yeah, it's a decent album. None of these albums are bad, they're all decent, but this falls quite low at number 13. At number 12, from 1990, and I'm sure this would be bottom of most Suzi Quatro fans' lists, is Oh Suzi Q, and this is on the cheap label Legend. Now I think this is a reissue. There is a different cover which I'll show here now. But this is the only one I could get, and this is very 80s in sound, but I really do like it. For example, Southern Comfort I think is a really good song. Love Touch I think should have been a big hit. Now you even know with the title Love Touch, it sounds like an 80s song. You know, there must have been hundreds of songs called Love Touch. But there's a couple of songs in here that really elevate this for me. Intimate Strangers would get on any compilation that I make of Suzi Quatro, as would Victim of Circumstance. Very, very good. Take Me On Your Arms has got a bit of a Motown Supremes feel to it, which I really do like. At the end of this there's a couple of singles from around the period. Baby You're a Star, which is awful, and We Found Love, which is not great either, it's not bad. Elusive Lover is also a really good song. I like this, and I would veer towards this before I would go to the heavier rock albums. Just something about this I really do like. She does a version of Suzi Q. I don't like that song. I never liked that song. Okay, it's perfect for her, but she does a version in one of the other albums as well. But yeah, so Oh Suzi Q is my number 12. Right, number 11 might be a bit of a surprise, and I am going to go with Quattro from 1974. This is their second album, and this is the one with the hit single Too Big on it. Now the Wild One is also on this, but it's a different version to the single. It's a really sort of laid back, almost soulful version of it, and it opens up the album, and I do like that version. But I think after the first couple of pressings of this, it was changed to the single version, the more rock and roll rousing version. The problem I have with this is actually it's very plotty and very bluesy. Too Big itself is like a 12-bar blues song, as is Klondike Kate, which is okay, but it's nothing special. She does a decent version of Cliff Richard's Move It, but she does a version of Hit the Road Jack, which is quite similar to the opener, The Wild One, in sound. It works in that respect, but otherwise I just don't see the reason for it. Cat Size is a decent sort of ballad. It's not bad, but she does A Shot of Rhythm and Blues, which is another song I have never really liked. Friday is one of her better ones, which she wrote with Len Tuckey, but there is one absolute classic on this, and it's a song called Savage Silk, which is absolutely brilliant. This album would have been enhanced if they had have included Devilgate Drive on it and taken off, say, Shot of Rhythm and Blues. But Devilgate Drive featured in some of the copies in different territories, but not in the UK. So Quattro gets my number 11. And at number 10, I'm going to go with her debut album, Suzi Quatro, the only album that actually charted. This is quite similar to the second album, but I think it's slightly better and it's slightly more varied. It has a fantastic song, 48 Crash, that opens it. Glycerine Queen is a Suzi classic. I even like things like Primitive Love with the almost the jungle drums, and she does a really good version of I Wanna Be Your Man, the Beatles song, which I've never been keen on that song, but I think this is my favourite version of it. All Shook Up is a very good version of the Elvis tune, but Sticks and Stones, it's a bit silly. Good verses, but the chorus lets it down. Shaking All Over is actually really good as well. The Johnny Kidd and the Pirates, I believe. Yeah, very good version of that. And Get Back Mama is your 12-bar blues status quo type song, which is very good. It's one of the better ones. This too would have been enhanced if it had included Can the Can, which again was in different territories, and even more enhanced if it had included Daytona Demon, but not to be. So Suzi Quatro against my number 10. And number 9 from 2011, it's in the Spotlight, and this is actually a very good album. All the songs on here are pretty damn good. It opens with A Girl Like Me, which is very good, and Whatever Love Is, it's almost an AOR type song, but it works really, really well. She does a very good version of Goldfrapp's Strict Machine, which I think was a single. Rosie Rosie and Breakfast Dishes are really good, fun rock and roll numbers. Turn Into is like an acoustic type song, which is very, very good, and Hurt With You is got a touch of reggae in it. So this is actually more varied than those further later albums. As I say, this is 2011. Actually, it's a very good album, and I saw her in 2015, and this was her last album to date, and I remember she played Strict Machine as well, and it went down really, really well with the crowd. So number 9 is in the Spotlight. Number 8 from 2005, and it is Back to the Drive. Now this is also varied as well. For example, we open up with Back to the Drive, a Mike Chapman song. You hear echoes of Devilgate Drive before she shouts I'm back, and then you go into this really heavy riff, but I think it's a very, very good song and it works really, really well. You also then get 15 Minutes of Fame, which it has an almost Celtic feel to it, a wee bit of a big country feel to it, which is very good. Duality has got like an Indian feel to it, so the first 3 songs of this are fantastic. She does a duet with her daughter called I'll Walk Through the Fire With You, which is a bit 90s in sound, but it's a very good, very, very good song, but AOR, but I like it. And a version of Rockin' in the Free World, the Neil Young song, which it's not bad. Dancing in the Wind is a really good rocker as well, and No Choice has a bit of a 80s feel to it. I do like this album. It's very varied. There's one song I can't stand on it, and that is Sometimes Love Is Letting Go, which is embarrassing. But apart from that, it's an excellent album, and that gets my number 8. Okay, number 7 from 1977, and it's Aggro-Phobia, and there was one hit single off this, and it was Tear Me Apart. Now Tear Me Apart, the single version of this is different to the LP version, and then there's an alternate single version as well. I think the LP version is the best overall, but I do like this album. It's very consistent, but it's slightly, I'm not going to say bland, it's slightly disappointing because there's a lot of big covers on this, but she does them really well. For example, Heartbreak Hotel, I think it's a fantastic version of the song. She does a really good version of Wake Up Little Susie, which is excellent. She does a version of Make Me Smile, Steve Harley song, which this was 2 years after that. It was a #1 hit, so I don't see the point, but again, it's a pretty good version of it. What's It Like to Be Loved, I think, is a really good song as well. And there's a song called Half As Much As Me, and I think she sounds really cute in it, and that's the only way I can describe her vocals. The Honky Tonk Downstairs is a pure country song. It's really good. It's a very strong album, and that's Aggro-Phobia from 1977. Now our number 6, I wasn't too sure where I was actually going to put this because this album is extremely catchy, bordering on the too catchy, and it is Unreleased Emotion. Now this was recorded in 1982-83 but it was never released until 1998. I don't understand why. This is a really good album. It's got a very summery feel to it. It is pop music, but it's not contemporary pop music. There's shades of 60s girl groups in this. That does have a bit of a Supremes Motown feel to some of the songs. It starts off with a really catchy Pardon Me, and then There She Goes. Strange Encounters again is so hooky. There's a bit of a new wave feel to that as well. Now this album actually has 14 songs on it, and there's 2 singles at the end of it, I Go Wild and Tonight I Could Fall in Love, which were released a couple of years later. The Tonight I Could Fall in Love is brilliant, really really good. It's got a very atmospheric start, and she does sound a bit like Bonnie Tyler in it. But I do like this a lot. There's no rockers as such. Okay, there's one song called I'm a Rocker, but it is very sort of dampened down a bit, and it doesn't really fit on the album. But catchy album, real good pop music. So Unreleased Emotion, I just wonder what the album would have been called if it had been released when it was supposed to have been released in 83 or late 82. But yeah, excellent album. Number 5, and from 1978, it is If You Knew Suzi. Now this is a 10-track album. It's not a very long album, and some cases the song Stumbling In is featured in this. It's not on the UK version, but this does have one of her best ever singles, If You Can't Give Me Love, which I absolutely adore. Also Don't Change My Luck is another Chin and Chapman song, which is very good. She does a very good version of Tom Petty's Breakdown. Now considering that was only 2 years old when she recorded that, it was like a song nobody had ever heard of. Also a very good version of the Kinks' Tired of Waiting, which I think works really well. One of the best songs off this is Suicide. Evie's not a bad rocker, but Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo is a better rocker. And The Race Is On is a decent enough single. Not one of my favourite of her singles, but it's a better LP track than as a single. And then Wiser Than You is an absolutely beautiful closer. So If You Knew Suzi is my number 5. Now number 4, and from 1975, is Your Mama Won't Like Me. It's also my favourite cover of a Suzi album. I think it's such a cool cover. This is her funk album, and this is the one that takes a bit of getting used to. The 2 singles off this, I bit off more than I can chew, and Your Mama Won't Like Me, I think are magnificent. I didn't like them when I very first heard them, but I think they're fantastic now. Strip Me is a decent song. Can't Trust Love is very good. Prisoner of Your Imagination is a bit slower, but it is excellent. And one of her best songs of the 70s is You Can Make Me Want You, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And yet again, there's another version of Fever on this, but this version is better than the previous one. So my number 4 is Your Mama Won't Like Me from 1975. Number 3 from 1980 is Rock Hard, and this features 3 singles. Rock Hard, fantastic, really good, and a really good video for it. Simple video but really good. Glad All Over, which is a cover of the Dave Clark 5 song, but I really do like this version. And Lipstick, which has shades of M's pop music in it, but it's an absolutely fantastic song with really good guitar work in it. There's a song here called Love Is Ready. Why that was never a single, I do not know. I honestly believe it would have been a huge hit single, especially in 1980, because it does have a new wave feel to it. State of Mind is really good. Woman Cry is a little bit of a almost reggae type song, which is very good. Ego in the Night's decent. Lonely is the Hardest is an absolutely beautiful ballad, and Wish Upon Me is also an absolutely beautiful song as well. This is a really strong album. Side 1 is slightly better than Side 2 though, but it's still good enough to get my number 3, Rock Hard from 1980. And my number 2 is from 1982, and it's Main Attraction. Now, This is a weird album. Side 1 and side 2 are completely different. It opens up with Heart of Stone, which has got that acoustic, smoky, can't give me love type feel to it, which is really good. Cheap Shots, very very good song as well. She Knows, really catchy. Main Attraction, similar in a way to Heart of Stone but much better. And then you get a full blown country song called 2 Miles Out of Georgia. This album was co-written with Chris Andrews of Yesterday's Man stroke Long Live Love fame. You turn over to side 2 and you think you're going to get the same. Honestly, whenever you hear it, you think it's a mispress. You get Candyman and you think the backing music is the Human League. You get Remote Control, which is another really heavy synth pop song, but it's really good. Fantasy in Stereo, excellent as well. Transparent is like a synth disco type song. So the whole of side 2 is completely different to side 1, and I think it really really works, and I think because of it, it gets my number 2. I think it's a very very good album. No bad songs on it at all. So that's Main Attraction from 1982. And my number 1 is from 1979, Suzi and Other 4-Letter Words. And you can see my copy has got a big sticker on there that somebody has coloured in, but still it'll do rightly. This has got 10 songs. It's a short album. Each song is a gem. I love it, and it sounds from 1979. It's not hanging on to the glam. It opens up with the brilliant I've Never Been in Love, which is a minor hit single. Mind Demons, great. She's in Love with You, our last big hit, although it only got to number 11. Hollywood would have been a huge hit single if it had been released, as would 4-Letter Words, which is one of her catchiest songs ever. Side 2 starts with Mama's Boy, another minor hit single. Starlight Lady, fantastic. You Are My Lover, another great song. Space Cadets is probably the weakest song off it, but it's still really good. And then it finishes with Love Hurts. Not the Love Hurts that Nazareth and everybody else did. It's a new song, but it is really really good. I love this album, 1979, and I think it's her most consistent and it's her best sounding album. So Suzi and Other 4-Letter Words is my number 1. So if you want to explore Suzi on CD, this is the first thing you need. It's Suzi Quatro, the Rock Box 1973 to 1979, which has all the albums plus loads of bonus tracks from our debut Suzi Quatro up to Suzi and Other 4-Letter Words in 79. Plus there's a DVD of Top of Pop's performances and live performances and so forth with a little booklet. It's just a really excellent album, and they're all done in replica sleeves, plus they have inner sleeves as well. So yeah, every single album is a really good set. And then there's another little box set here. It's a little clamshell box, and it features 3 albums: Rock Hard, Main Attraction and Unreleased Emotion. And this is, you can get this for a tenner, and again a little booklet, and then the actual CDs are in little vinyl replica sleeves. This time there's no inners, but it's still really good to have. And then the rest of them you can either get individually or on vinyl. So that's my ranking of the Suzi Quatro albums. I hope you enjoyed that. I've got that one on a bit, and I hope to have another video quite soon. All the best now. Bye bye.